Right. Give it a couple of seconds just to come online properly. Sorry, we're running a little bit late. Just some technical hiccups, but I'm really pleased to be able to introduce you all to Sarah McGeough. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with her books, but we're going to have a bit of a chat. So I'm particularly interested, Sarah, in Bowman, sort of introduce yourself. Anything I've
Yeah, of course, of course.
forgotten, but I'm interested in how you came to your sort of adoption decisions and journey, and how it was for you. So, welcome first, and
Lovely to be here. Thank you so much for asking me. Thank you.
no problem.
So yeah, our adoption journey, it was quite a long one, to be honest. We tried for a child for 8 years for the whole process. But we did try IVF to begin with. So we were trying for a child naturally for a few years, and then not having much success. So we went to IVF to see how that would fare. But sadly, we had two attempts of IVF. One of them ended up with me having an ectopic pregnancy, which was quite traumatic. And then we tried again a second time round because we had some frozen embryos. So we thought, why not? You know, we've still got them going, so we might as well try again. But that was unsuccessful. And then we kind of, paused for a little while to think about, what was our next steps really. And we had a chat with our consultant. I remember it quite well. We chatted with our consultant at the time, and he said he had a birth child and he had an adopted child, which was lovely. And I think we were going through, the different avenues to see what we could, how we could start our own family. So we decided to go down the adoption route. So we did. My husband had a little bit of reservations about it to begin with. I think it was more because I think when the consultant spoke to him, he did say, it's quite a natural thing potentially for a man to feel that he needs to carry on his and it was quite natural for men to go through that, whereas women, I think, can be more maternal and obviously want to start a family. So so we did pause for a little while, contemplate what we were going to do, and then we started our adoption journey and went to like an open day when I lived in London. So we went there and had a chat with social services at that point. And that's where it started, really. And then we decided that it was something we wanted to pursue. We were very excited. We met lots of families and lots of parents. And I think there was even some children there at the time. So it was lovely. So we went on our journey to adoption at that point. And it was I think in our eyes, we thought, okay, this is the next step and it's going to be fairly straightforward. I know going through the adoption process is it's quite long and it's quite lengthy, and obviously they need to go through all the processes, all the checks, and various things they need to do. So we went on a workshop for a month. And it was like every week we met up with the same couples, and got to make some really good friends from that. And then we decided, and then they said that they were happy to progress, which is good. So then we went down, and so the social worker started to come and visit our house. Unfortunately, I had a few medical problems at that point, so it had to pause for a little while. Because I did have to have a hysterectomy at that point. And then, yes, we went through the process with her, and we were matched. We went through the process to be approved. So we were approved Or it feels like such a long time ago when I talk about
Yeah,
it.
imagine.
We were approved. We were very, very excited, and I think that we thought naively that it was going to be a fairly straightforward process after we were approved. But it did take another 3 years for us to get our
Wow,
beautiful son.
goodness me. And
Yes,
testament to your persistence and
yes,
your determination. Golly, I know, having talked to quite a lot of adopters, that sometimes it does feel like you've got this momentum during the assessment, and then suddenly everything tails off for some time after that. I I meant to say in the beginning that I'm adopted two girls who are now 20 and 18. So, and I'm a social worker by trade, but I think I didn't really know what I was doing until after I'd been subject to a couple of assessments, because I don't think you really know how. The word coming to my mind is intrusive, but I suppose inquiring is probably a less loaded word. But
yes, 'cause I think you'll feel that you're literally your whole life's being looked through a little microscope, really, isn't it? That's how you feel. There's lots. You have to be extremely open, extremely honest. You have chats. Me and my husband, we had chats together as a couple, and then we would have conversations with a social worker on our own. And yes, they do go into lots and lots of detail about your support network, which is massively important. And I think as well, even now, I think to myself, it is such a big thing, and it does really help for you to understand what your support network is going to be afterwards.
mm,
I think any parent needs some support in the background for certain things. Emotional support, it's always, we like to chat to each other when we're having a few difficulties
yeah,
along the way. But yes,
mm,
so yeah, it did take us 3 years to adopt our son. And it was quite a difficult journey, to be fair, because we tried for the first year, and we were very excited. We went to the open days, the big open days that I'm sure are not probably happening at the moment because of
mm,
COVID, where there was tons and tons of stalls, and it was just felt really overwhelming. I remember walking in thinking, you feel like you're at a recruitment fair or something. It felt kind
yeah,
of that vibe where you were like, I don't really know what I'm doing. And then obviously you see all these beautiful pictures of children. And you're like, how do I choose? How do I, you don't want to, deselect some of them, you want to help all of them. But
mm,
yes, we came away with about 10. I think we probably had about 10 or 20 profiles at that point, and then we sat and had a chat about them. But yes, unfortunately, we didn't really progress. It took us quite a long time, and we were kind of becoming a bit confused as to what was the issue, and why weren't we getting to the next stage. And then I think we had conversations with social workers, and I think it was always that we were pipped to the post. I think sometimes, obviously, there is a better match out there for a child, and therefore it can be that you get so excited about a particular child and you really, really want to progress, but then another couple will be a better match for that child. But it's very like it makes you feel quite deflated, and
mm,
then we did go down. I think after about 18 months we were starting to get very, very frustrated about the process and not really understanding what was going wrong, and so we did actually make a complaint, and we went and spoke to our MP at the time, and he did then put in a letter to social services, and we were allocated another social worker, a much more experienced social worker.
mm,
And interestingly, I think because I suffer from epilepsy, so I think that may have been one of the reasons why we weren't being considered,
right, okay,
sadly. And she
mm,
was very open to us, very open and honest to why that potentially was, because they want to make sure that the child's not at at risk in any way. But there's lots of things that are in place to make sure that my safety and the child's safety is obviously priority. So so anyway, after we met with her, she is the amazing social worker that I speak of very fondly, and she has helped me with my books. I speak to her most weeks. We are very good friends now, and yeah, she within 6 months we had a child that was identified that would potentially be a match for us before he was born. So it was a beautiful moment.
Can you imagine, after so long, and
Yes.
clearly all the heavens aligned, and he was the child that you were destined for, I guess.
Yeah, and I definitely feel that way, very much so. That I think we were getting to the point where we were not sure whether we were going to continue. I think after 3 years, we were getting to the point of how long do we wait? How long do we kind of wait for this moment to happen? And it just came. And I remember, because we were on holiday, and we had a message through that he'd been born that day, and it just feels very surreal to get that kind of message to say, this little baby could potentially be our son. It was a lovely moment.
Oh, that's beautiful. So is that some of the maybe reasons why you've put pen to paper and you've created these lovely characters, these beautiful characters?
Yes. Yes, I think with lockdown last year, I think it kind of threw everyone into, we weren't sure what was happening. Our lives were all up in the air. And I think, I moved from London to Brighton in Hove, and I was hoping to restart my career and get back into what I loved, but COVID had other ideas. So I decided, I was sitting on the beach talking to my friend one day, and he was talking about writing a book, and I thought, yeah, that's not a bad idea. I've got a lot of time on my hands at the moment. That's a great idea. So yes, and I'd always thought, I think because we'd gone through such it was quite a difficult process, and because it was such a long length of time for us to finally have our lovely son, I always thought that I would write a book in some way about adoption, but I wasn't sure exactly what that would look like. But then the more I thought about it, and I think the more that I sort of sat with the idea for a while, I thought actually it would be lovely to write a children's book, because it would really help my son. It would really help him to understand his background, his identity, his journey to us becoming a family together. And then I was like, of course, it would help other children as well. So I kind of had a bit of a light bulb moment in May of last year to write a book. So yeah, so Eddy Finds a Family was created, and Flossie and Frank, the flamingos, are the parents looking for a chick, and Eddy Emu is the main character in the story. So yes, it's very exciting. I have got a copy here if you wanted to.
Yeah, please. Just they're such colourful and lovely books.
Thank
so
you.
how did you come up with the sort of the characters and the who was going to be who? And
I think I've actually got a flamingo jumper on at the moment. I've got my Christmas jumpers on. Flamingos are very dear to us. We love Florida very much, me and my husband, and I've always kind of been known as the flamingo lady with my friends. And so so I am Flossie the flamingo, and my husband, my son calls us these names now, and Frank is my husband. And I think it was just very natural to have two flamingos. I mean, the book is very much, although Eddie Emu is a lot older than our son was when we adopted him, it is very much that it is our family, if you like. So it's very much our process of what we went through to become a family and find each other. So it has, you know, Felicity Frog is the foster carer, and Stella Stork is the social worker. Of course, a stork has to bring.
Well, yeah, I suppose it had to be, didn't
it? Yes. And our social worker is very happy with that. She now refers to herself as Stella. So, but yes, it just sort of, it was very natural actually. Once I had the idea and we toyed with what it would look like, it was quite easy to put pen to paper and write it, because of course a children's story is very simple, and quite, you know, not many words. I think it took me about 2 weeks to really get it all written down and really understand what I wanted to include in the book. But it took a lot longer to get the characters. I think it was about 5 or 6 months in total, to get the illustrator, to get the characters together, and to actually get them to come to life, because they were in my head, but I needed someone to bring them to life. So Stephanie brought them to life for me.
Yeah, and that's part of why, you know, the words are beautiful, but the illustrations are lovely too. It's a brilliant combination. Quite a lot of people, you know, I spend quite a lot of time talking to different people, particularly women who are in business, and a lot talk about the desire to write a book, but many of them are still talking about it. We've not brought it to fruition. Do you think, was it the lockdown that sort of gave you that push, or, you know, was it something you were sort of thinking about anyway, but hadn't had time in the do before?
I think it was always in the back of my mind, but I think I thought, well, I don't know how to write a book, so I'm not even going to go down that route. And I don't know if it would have ever have happened if lockdown hadn't have happened. So in a way, lockdown was actually quite exciting for me, because it took me on a whole different journey. So I never imagined that I'd be an author, but it was because I went online to look at how to write a book, and went on Facebook, and obviously Facebook sort of knows what you're looking for. So then my mentor and friend now, Michael Heppel, popped up, and he was doing a free sort of write that book pop-up group in Facebook. And I joined that in May. And basically he taught me how to write a book. So he told me all the principles behind what you need to do, what you need to think about. I then joined. It was very exciting that the week of doing that in Facebook, and then I joined his masterclass, and then got to meet loads and loads of other people that were very excited about writing. All very new to it. You know, Michael has, you know, he's a motivational speaker. He's written lots of books. Sort of How to Be Brilliant is one of his more very, very successful books. And he's like a coach, and yeah, he's a very dear friend now. We've now done 4 masterclasses, so it's definitely a thing, because we're now like a big community. So it's lovely that we started this small group. And now we're kind of following him along his journey. You know, he hasn't been able to do his job, what he would normally do. He's normally a keynote speaker, and he's doing loads of events, and he hasn't been able to do that. So he's kind of been helping other people to write books. So I think he's got a challenge that he wants to help 1,000 people write 1,000 books in 1,000 days. It's a big challenge.
That's very ambitious, but what an achievement. And I think the lockdown, I mean, it's obviously had lots of implications negatively, but it's also freed up people to sort of reevaluate and rethink about what they want. And there's so much creativity that's come out of it as a consequence. It's really inspiring.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely. And like you say, I've made so many like virtual friends, you know, people that, you know, I've not met. You know, I haven't met Michael. He lives up
Oh.
north. I would love to meet him one day, and I'm sure I will. But all
Mm.
that community support and, you know, neighbors getting together, you know, helping each other, doing things that you've been putting off for years and years, and then all of a sudden people are starting to learn new skills, or they have a bit more time because they're at home a lot more. Um,
Mm.
or, I mean, sadly, a lot of people have had to, you know, they've lost their jobs and things like that, and they've had to kind of try and think about rebuilding their career or rebuilding their lives again. But yes, it's I definitely think it's opened our eyes, and the way we see things, the way we are with people, I think it definitely has helped from that perspective.
Mhm. So, you've written a new book, I
I
believe.
have, yes. I
So
have it here as well.
brilliant.
So,
And yeah,
Eddy
where are
Feels
you off?
at Home.
And so are you doing book tours, or what are you doing in terms of yeah, getting it out there?
Yeah, so the second one is Eddy Feels at Home, and it is based on Eddy, because the first book is about Eddy meeting his new parents, and going through that process. And with Eddy Feels at Home, it is much more about Eddy's moving in with Flossie and Frank. And it's that process of a child being in a new home, you know, what
Mm.
they experience, how you help them to settle in to their new home with their new family, and then obviously the nice thing at the end of having the adoption order granted, and having a celebration about that, if you would like to. um, but yeah, it's I haven't yet, it was only launched in November, beginning of November,
Oh.
for pre-orders, and I've only just started sending them out, so they've only been sent out this week. They were sent out sort of today. They're going to be sent out today. A few were sent out yesterday. So because I have to sign them, I have to number them, I
Oh,
like
golly.
writing like little notes in them, things, because I like to personalize them. So
Mm.
you know, parents contact me and say, would you write it to my child, and then I write little notes inside. So it's really lovely. I haven't done the whole book tour yet because again, COVID has been very
Yeah,
restrictive on
totally.
that. I have been asked to go in to do a virtual sort of on Zoom or Teams, do a virtual one for a school, which I'm going to be doing in January. And my son took it to school with him last year, and he was very excited. The teacher read it out to the class. So it was really
Yeah.
lovely for him to be able to do that and share it with his class. And Adoption UK have endorsed my second book, so officially endorsed it this time round. So the first time round, Sue Armstrong Brown, she wrote a review on the back of the book, but this time round she is officially endorsing it. They are officially endorsing it, and I'm giving money to charity. So for every pound, for every book that's sold, I give £1
Wow.
to Adoption UK. And at the moment, I think they're doing a big give. They're doing a big give week at the moment, so they'll actually
Mm.
get it doubled. So that's
Oh,
great.
wow.
So yes, I'm trying to get it back into the community and to help a bit more with Adoption UK.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm wondering and curious how your. It sounds like your son's really proud of it, and so you have you involved him in some of the creation of it, or?
Yes, very much so. He's I've always said he's my chief editor. He tells me when he doesn't like something.
Oh, okay.
No, he's been very involved. Certainly with the first book, I read it out to him lots of times, and he would say to me, you know, "Mummy, understand what that means, or what does that word mean? Because again, when you write as an adult, it's very different to how a child understands. And because my books, aimed at children 4 to 8, give or take, I've had children, read it, parents read it to them that are like, 2, 3 upwards, really. But yes, it's he's been very, very involved, and I sat with him, made sure he understood what I was writing, so that someone else of his age would be able to understand it. And there was certainly something I featured in the first book, where I remember speaking to our social worker over the phone, and she was very excited about the book, and we were talking a bit more about what we were going to do with it. And I got him to speak to her over the phone, and she said, "Oh, do you remember me?" And she was chatting with him. And then afterwards, he said to me, "Who was that, mummy?" And I said, "That was our social worker." And he said, I said, "She helped us find you." And he said back to me, "Was I lost, mummy?" And then I'm like, it's like, it just makes me oh so emotional sometimes, because children see things so simply, so simplistically. And I was like, bless you. And I did actually put it in the book. There's a conversation between him and his foster carer, so Eddie Emu and Felicity Frog, and they're having a conversation. And he says, am I lost? Was I lost? Because I think it is very important. Children, if you say things in certain ways, he'll be like, you found me. What does that mean? He thinks that I was lost somewhere. Where was I lost? So he was really involved, and he really did help. And certain things he'll ask me, like this time round, they they go out, and Eddie's not sleeping very well, and so Flossie and Frank drive him out in a car. As you can imagine, a parent would do that fairly often.
Yeah.
And they end up at McFlamingos, and my son asked if we could add a donut to the menu, so because he loves donuts. So all these little sweet things, he'll ask me, "Can you add that bit in? Can you add that bit into Eddie's room for me? Can you he's a big Nemo and Dory fan, so he'll ask me, without me trying to get into any copyright issues, he'll ask me to add a little bits of detail in that, so he can identify with it. But he calls us by the characters' names. And I had some little toys done, some little felt toys done recently, and he gave them to us and said, "This is you, mummy Flossie, this is daddy Frank, and this is me, Eddie." And then he cuddled them all together, and I said yes, and it made me cry. I was like, oh my goodness, it's so emotional, but it's so lovely, because it does mean a lot to him. I know he's extremely proud of the book. It is a tribute to him. I wrote it for him. And but I think it really helps him understand. It's really, because he's at an age now, he's asking a lot more questions. He's a lot more interested. He sees other children at school. He sees other families at school. Families are very different. He has lots of questions. He's not always very sure. And adoption is a big word. He doesn't always yet understand what that really means. But he talks about, I have, how he describes it, I have old parents. How he terms it. And he will ask questions, didn't they love me? Didn't they want me? Those kinds of questions. And they are very difficult, and he does get upset about it sometimes. But I think these books are really helping him to really understand it. It's helping him to feel open enough to ask these questions rather than internalizing it.
And I would think that also it's really valuable for children who haven't been adopted to understand it, because otherwise sometimes adopted children get bullied because of other children's view of what it is, which might have absolutely nothing to do with reality. And it's a very gentle and loving way to explain it. So it's great that his school are so engaged with it.
Yeah,
Do you
they've
think?
been so lovely. They've been so lovely. And like you say, I really try and encourage that it is a book for all children, because it's a lovely story. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
a lovely story with lovely, you know, children want colourful characters. And I think that when I was looking as well, I always thought, oh, some of the adoption books that I'd seen, certainly quite a few years ago when we adopted our son, they were quite, you know, that they weren't really hitting the mark for me. They were quite bland, or just didn't have any color to them. Whereas I wanted to create these vibrant characters so that children could engage with them in a better way.
Mm. And you know, people who've followed me will know that I bang on about play and music and art, because it is so important, and lots of our children who are in the system have not really been brought up to enjoy colour and vibrancy for whatever reason, because of their birth experience perhaps, and the losses and difficulties that they've experienced early on. So it's lovely to be able to provide such a bright and colourful resource for children. And what do you think, have you got plans for future sort of stages, or do you
I
think
think
what
certainly our
what
social worker
next for
wants me to
Eddie?
write them until Eddie's 18, I think.
Well, I'm an aftercare worker. I work with 18 to 25, so I think you
I need to carry on. I need to carry on.
absolutely.
Problem. I mean, I love writing them. I really, I get such joy. And you know, I've had videos through yesterday, you know, of children reading it, the new one, and it just really lights me up. You know, I just love
Yeah.
being able to give that back to other children, other families. You know, it's so lovely. I do have plans. I mean, the books are quite expensive to produce. Having an
Mm.
illustrator is quite costly. But I am planning on writing another book. The next one is going to be Eddie Goes to School.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, really pivotal time.
Yes, and it's a very significant topic. So I'm
Mm.
not sure
Mm.
yet, because I am starting a job. I am having a proper job from next year. So I am starting a job next year. So
Right.
may slow me down slightly, but I'm really hoping that this is going to progress. I want to promote them much more. I want to go out
Mm.
to more schools, to more
Mm.
nurseries, speak to more
Mm.
adoption agencies, you know, to try and get them out there as much as possible, and
Mm.
to promote them as much as I can. And I am in the process of looking at sort of having some Eddie merchandise, some adoption cards. I know when I go to shops, I don't really see them.
Mm.
When you go to shops, there's cards on, you know, congratulations on your divorce,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
congratulations on, you know, something quite, but there aren't any adoption cards out there. I'm like, how is that the case? So
Mm.
and I
Mm.
know there's some lovely people that make some beautiful cards. So I am trying to see if I can work with someone to do that.
Mm.
Have some like birthday cards, and those kinds of things with the characters included, and a few other little pieces. I'm really trying to get an Eddie cuddly toy, which is proving quite difficult.
Yes, okay.
But yes,
Yeah.
so there's lots and lots of plans for Eddie. So I think I'm going to try and promote these two books because they're a lot of people are buying them now as a package, as I'm promoting them as a package. So I'm
Mm.
getting lots of new people buying them as two, and I really want to push them out as much as I can to try and get in as many households as possible.
Sounds very
A
laudable, and
challenge.
yeah, yes. And you know, certainly, will any sort of products that you have, do let me know, because I'm happy
Thank
to
you.
send it out in the group. And you know, because I just think it's such an important book, or they're both important books, because they do document something in a really accessible way that, like you say, can be difficult, and and if we don't give our children the tools to explain it in a positive way, then they're subject to other people's explanations, and they're not positive in the main or often. So yeah, I wish you all the best wishes, because I think it's they're great books, and we will certainly continue to read them and watch your career. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. No, I really, really appreciate it.
So thank you so much for your time. And how can people get in touch with you? Because you've got a Facebook group, haven't you?
Yes. So the Eddy books are under the kind of series name, the Flamingo Family. So I do have a website, theflamingofamily.co.uk. Where the books are there to buy. I also do give out free books, so to download. So there are 2 books on there currently. Eddy Private Eye, and that was my son's choice. So I did write it. Mummy, can you write me a book? So he tells me what he wants me to write. So yes, he likes being a private eye detective. So I wrote that, and then I wrote another one, Eddy Loves the Seaside. So they are free to download. And then I've got another one coming out at Christmas, which is a bit of a surprise. So I haven't said anything about that yet. Yes. And then I do have a Facebook group, so a private Facebook group, the Flamingo Family, which you can ask to join. There just are some questions to join. And then I do have a page, a Facebook page as well, and an Instagram page as well. So yes, so I try and promote myself around as much as possible and get out there to the adoption community. So
brilliant. Well, if you send me the links, I'll put them in the post, and when people come back to it, they can reach out. So thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Sarah.
Thank you very much. Lovely to see you.
Right. Bye.
Bye.